I'm trying out creating a geometric blanket using leftover yarn in a range of marine colours. So I've got a range of different greens and blues, whites and blacks here that I'm going to hopefully turn into a geometric design. This is the design, and I'm going to attach short pieces of scrap yarn to refer to when actually creating the pattern. Here I've got 16 different squares in different colour combinations. These are going to be used to make a larger blanket design. I'm going to make this square here, which is the white, blue and turquoise square. So I have my recycled blue yarn, my reclaimed turquoise and some leftover white. So I'm going to start off by doing a chain of 20. In fact, a chain of 21. So we've got 21 chains here. Going into the second chain from the hook with a single crochet, that's American terms. And carrying on a single crochet into the remaining chains. That's it, a crochet into the last chain. Just unwind some more yarn. So at the end of that foundation row, just one turning chain, turn and then back in, and again single crochets all the way along. So 20 stitches every row. So I'm going to do 6 rows in total of this white yarn. So when I've got to that point, I'll show you when I join a new colour. So I'm on my 6th row here. And in this last stitch, I'm just going to insert the hook, cut off my existing colour and join on with the new. In this case it's a blue. And then pull up that new colour through. Tie that off. And finish off that stitch. Turning chain and then back in. And then I'm just going to hide these tails from now onwards. So just burying them within the single crochets. Just split the yarn there, try that one again. That's better. That's enough tail there, so I can just trim those off now. Saving myself from having to weave these tails in. And all being well, getting a reasonably neat finish. Trimming those loose bits off. You get a bit of a jaggedy edge here, but I don't particularly mind that. So I'm going to carry on here with 2 rows of this colour to create a narrow band, and then after that I will carry on by using the turquoise. So turning chain, I'm just going to go back on myself for one more row. Nearly there. And the final stitch, we're going to join this new colour here. It's a slightly different thickness, but it's not a major problem. I'm not too fussy about that. So again, tie that off. And finish that off. Turning chain and back in. Hiding these tails again. This yarn's a little bit bulkier, but ultimately it doesn't really make too much difference on these small squares and with this relatively tight stitch. You can see here we've got that narrow band of royal blue. That's the final stitch for that row here. So I'm going to carry on going up with more rows of this turquoise and carry on with as many rows as I need to get to a square shape. So this one here, you can see I've formed a square which I think is about 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, about 15 stitches for this section here. So once that's been done, just finish off the edges with a single crochet around the edge, and that will just neaten the square and any wobbly edges that you might have. Lots of different colours here. What I've found is that it's about 21 stitches on each side, and I've marked the corner stitches with a stitch marker, so it's the corner stitch and 21 stitches between each corner stitch. But depending on the yarn that you're using and the hook size, then just adjust the number of stitches along each side to suit, so that you end up with a nice flat, neat square. This is the finished square. I've added a navy border to the square, and I'll use that same border on all of them to create a consistent edge, and then once all the squares are finished, I'll join them together to form the blanket. The yarn that I've used for the border is this Next Generation recycled fibre from the Wool Factory, which is 85% acrylic and 15% polyester. Throughout the blanket, I'll try and use only artificial fibres such as acrylic and polyester that have the same washing care instructions. This hopefully will mean that there isn't differential shrinkage across the blanket as a whole. This square is 20 stitches wide and 22 rows high, and I've found that that creates a square that's around 14 centimetres by 14. The squares are now all joined together, and they've been joined with a mattress stitch along the joint to create an invisible seam. Just to finish off the blanket, I'm going to do a double border along the edge. So I'll form slip stitches through the edge and stitch them quite loosely, and then stitch onto that double crochets on both sides and stitch them together to form a double border. So I've done a row of single crochet along the border here, and now I'm going to form the base of the double border. I'll use a different coloured yarn just to make it slightly easier to see the stitches when it comes to picking them up. So I go through the base of the stitch and pull up a loop, and then through the base of the next stitch, pull up a loop and pull through to form a slip stitch, and the same again, pull up a loop under the next stitch, pull through to form a slip, pull up a loop, pull under to form a slip stitch. Work these slip stitches quite loosely. It's then easier to work with later on. Going through the base of the next stitch, pull up a loop and pull under through, forming slip stitches along the surface. And then on the reverse side you can see that contrasting colour where the slip stitch is at the back. So carry on like this all around the border. Now that I've worked the slip stitches around the entire border, I'm going to work some double crochets into the back loop of the slip stitches. So working a little way back from the corner, starting off with 2 chains and then a single crochet into the back loop of the next slip stitch, a double crochet, Bobby wants to get involved. So double crochets all the way along into the back loop, Right, so we're getting to the corner now, which I've marked with a stitch marker, and at the corner, this one here, I'm going to put 4 double crochets into the same loop. This yarn has a habit of splitting, and then a single double crochet, just the 1 double crochet into the next loop, next stitch after that, and so on. You can just see here that adding those extra stitches allows you to turn the corner. So I'm going to carry on round the whole of the border with double crochets, and then once I've finished that side, I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So work double crochets into these loops here. So once I've done this side all the way around the border and the reverse side all the way around the border, I'll just finally show you how to just connect the 2 sides. I finished working all the double crochets into the front of the slip stitch along the border. So I'm going to do the same at the back, double crochets into the back of the slip stitch. You can see the back loop here, this contrasting blue. This is a bit more difficult because you have to get the hook under these stitches here. It's always a good idea to do your slip stitches quite loosely so that it makes this task a bit easier. So I'm going to try and pinch and get the hook under the loop. Pull up a loop and 2 chains. So that counts as the first double crochet. And then yarn over and just getting the hook under that second loop now. That second slip stitch. Takes a bit of patience, this. And then again getting the hook under got a stray strand there under the loop. Yarn over and again hook underneath the next loop, and so on, yarn over. I've been using single crochet to join the double crochets together, so we've got the front double crochets and the back ones, and I've been joining them together with a single crochet, and that forms the finished border edge. So just going through the front stitch and the back stitch and joining the two with a single crochet. So through the front and through the back. And joining with a single crochet. Always being mindful not to miss any stitches in order to keep everything in alignment.